Master Chief has gone rampant.
Going rampant. Going rampant.
He's gone rampant.
I've seen a lot of stuff on the net where people read bad fan fiction and, laugh at it. But I've always thought this is kind of impolite because it's making fun of other people, other people's works. So I've decided to do a more honorable approach to that and make fun of my own work. I found this when I was cleaning. While technically original fiction, it is so riddled with blatant ripoffs that it might as well be called fan fiction. We begin. There is a boarder named Alexander who lives in the cellar of the Matthews family home. The Matthews have an 11-year-old son, Jake. Alexander is an inventor and has all kinds of ideas for creating all kinds of machines. As he always has wanted to fly, he tries to make flying machines, but none ever work and he keeps crashing. Alexander got shocked by a computer that infused him with electrokinesis, and with concentration he can shoot off a small beam of electricity, but that keeps malfunctioning and creates problems. There are others who have abilities like Alexander, only different in nature. For example, fire and water. There is a terrorist named Sylvester Mechanicles, who wears silk robes, has a slight Greek accent, and is a little crazy.
Greetings, meddlesome strangers. I am Mechanicles, the greatest of the great Greek geniuses. Archimedes, an amateur. Socrates, talk. To make a long story short, I plan on taking over the world.
Alexander and Jake received an invitation in the mail, inviting them to attend a party that would have a very special surprise. They went to the party that was held alongside a lake. The surprise was on Alexander when he was called up on stage. As Alexander stood there, a giant metal cage dropped over him, trapping him. A giant mechanical spider came out of nowhere. The spider has the ability to blend into its surroundings, like a chameleon, except when wet, and captured Alexander by using a claw and cable that came out of its belly. It grabbed the cage and pulled Alexander up inside the spider body. Jake was worried when Alexander disappeared from the stage and called the police. The police then contacted the CIA for help. They knew all about Mechanicles and figured they'd need backup. Mechanicles gave a virus to Alexander, which allows Mechanicles to control him from his base inside the spider. There, Mechanicles has a computer that he used to type in commands to Alexander based on a series of gauges which showed pressures such as how hard to squeeze and how light or hard to step to keep how light or hard to step to keep balance, and how to control movement. Alexander has the ability to absorb electricity from electrical sources such as cars, televisions, telephones, computers, etc., and it makes him grow bigger. Mechanicles is exploiting this. When Alexander is giant size, Mechanicles sends Alexander out to destroy things. Mechanicles asks the U.S. government to surrender to him because he has Alexander, or he will send Alexander out to destroy Washington, D.C. The CIA tries to get rid of the virus by sending out an antivirus program, which would work on Alexander, as Alexander is absorbing energy. The CIA has in its possession an old sword from over 1,000 years ago, which has black magic coiled around it. They knew Mechanicles would be unable to resist going for the black magic sword, so they decided to use it to draw Alexander out into the open desert so they could use the antivirus program on Alexander. Plan A. If Plan A does not work, then Plan B would be to use weapons to destroy him. The black magic sword was taken out of its sheath, so Mechanicles could feel energy generating from it. Mechanicles has some ability to sense energy sources. CIA agent G1 put the sword in a race car, and agent G2 drove it out to the desert to try out their plans. G1 sent a transmission to G2 asking for an update as to what was happening and G2's location because he was late arriving at the designated area. G2 responded with a message that Mechanicles caught him and took the sword. G1 asked G2 what Mechanicles did with the sword, and G2 said, "What do you think he did with it?" G2 looked up again to see Alexander transformed into a ferocious monster, Alexzilla. Since Mechanicles had not been surrendered to, he sent Alexander to Washington, D.C. to destroy buildings to show how destructive he could be. A Japanese businessman was overheard screaming, "I moved to America to escape all this," as he ran for his life. Jake was really worried now. Not only was Alexander still gone, but now the police were ignoring him. He decided he was on his own and headed down to Alexander's workshop in the basement to look for clues. After passing by several broken-down, crashed flying machines, Jake found a toy space shuttle with a red button that said, "Press me," which is what he did. It blasted off like a rocket and flew around the rooms 3 times, stayed suspended in midair for a few seconds, and then fell to the floor. On the floor next to the fallen toy, Jake spotted a clue: a trap door. Jake opened the door and saw a tunnel. After taking a deep breath, he climbed through the trapdoor and cautiously started down the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, he found a secret hidden workshop. He went inside and saw 3 large safes. In the middle of the room, he saw an unusual-looking flying machine. It looked similar to the teacup ride at Disneyland, except for the control panel and booster jets. On the workbench, Jake saw a book of instructions on how to use this unusual flying machine. After quickly reading the instructions, Jake looked around and found a door leading to the outside. He pulled the flying machine outside, got in, and started it up. Jake flew the flying machine to try to distract Mechanicles, who tried to swat Jake away. Mechanicles got annoyed because he couldn't get rid of Jake, so he sent Alexzilla to chase Jake away. Jake led Alexzilla to an area about 8 miles away from Jake's hometown. That's Jake's without an apostrophe. and toward a completely bare mountain of only dirt and rocks. This mountain was one that people were afraid to get near because they thought it was haunted. A few large boulders that had fallen down in a rock slide were at the foot of the mountain. Mechanicles was paying so much attention to Jake that he didn't see the boulders, and Alexzilla tripped over them and fell into the side of the mountain, creating a huge crack in the side and deep into the mountain. There must have been an underground spring because water began to gush out of the crack. The water hit Alexzilla and short-circuited him, which caused Mechanicles' system to short out and explode. This caused the spider to lose its camouflage ability, so the Secret Service was able to capture Mechanicles as they were in front of the White House. The short-circuited Alexzilla reverted back to his normal self, although it took a while for him to return to his normal size. Once Alexander gets back to his normal size, Jake leads him into the flying machine and flies them back to the Matthews home. The next day, the water from the mountain created a small lake, which attracted tourists to see the mountain that caused the lake. Inside the crack of the mountain, they found old writing in stone walls, one word stone walls, that could have been an old temple. This also brought tourists to the area, generating enough money so they were able to pay for all the damages Mechanicles, though Alexzilla, had caused. Meanwhile, two prison guards were taking Mechanicles to his prison cell, when one of the guards, who was drinking some water, accidentally spilled some on Mechanicles, who started sparking. Smoke surrounded his head and it exploded. It was a decoy, a robot. On top of one of the tallest buildings in the world, the real Mechanicles was standing there laughing hysterically.
The greatest of the great, great geniuses!
The end. Yeah, this is awful. It says draft 5. Yeah. So, I'm not afraid to laugh at myself. And I think this is the better way to do these, the worst fan fiction of all time types of things. To laugh at oneself as opposed to other people. Please comment if you can think of other things I probably ripped off.